All right, and welcome to Forgotten Popcorn, where we talk about movies that have made you forget eating your popcorn. Today we're talking about Interstellar 2014. What do you guys think?
Oh man,
You start us off, Alex, this time.
Yeah, all right. I the first time that I watched this was a really, really long time ago. Probably like the first time it came out, which I have here. March 17th was when it came out digitally. So it's a different era of digital, in fact, because nowadays you get, pretty much as soon as the movie hits theaters, maybe a week later, you'll get it for pre-order digitally. You can put your name in for it and you're ready to go. And this one, came out in 2015. That's when it came out digitally. Release date was in 2014, as we know, in November, which is a very interesting time for a Nolan movie to come out. We've had different times periods, as we know, his recent one, Oppenheimer, came out in the summer. So it's a very different, and so did Batman as well, summer release. So it's a very different, time for him to decide to release this. And I don't really know the reasoning behind it, but regardless, I find it an interesting experience because I watched it only recently again when Alvaro here lent me the 4K version of it, which was amazing to watch. And I loved it. It was like all the detail and so much, so many different colors, HDR, and it was just amazing, just right?
Crisp image.
Crisp, right? Yeah. It was amazing. So I watched it one more time for this podcast, and I watched it on, if anybody's watching on YouTube, you can see right in front of us, we have the cover of it. That disc there is actually the lowest quality disc you could possibly, digitally it would have been higher quality than this disc. This disc is the selling point is it's 16:9. That's the selling point on this disc. I want to tell you a story here because this is probably one of my favorite experiences watching this movie to date. And it's really weird, okay? It felt like I was watching it on VCR. That's how bad the quality was. Like, it was enough. You could see people's faces. It all was defined and everything like that. Like, it's for home experience, but it's very different from watching it digitally or watching it on a 4K disc. Like, it was so interesting. So, just as a quick nerd statistics about it, on my DVD player, you can show the display and you can show the bit rate of the disc and of the audio, so you can actually see the details behind it. Cool. This disc ran at. Does anybody want to guess really quickly at what it was running at?
I don't even want to.
Like maybe 480 or 360p.
Okay, so the official quality was 1080.
Okay.
Okay.
But does anybody know the rate at which the disc was writing? So as we know, the highest quality, like legitimate theaters, are hundreds of gigabytes a second. Yeah. Hundreds of gigabytes. This was running at 4 to 7 megabytes a second, and 7 was the highest it went.
Oh god!
Because the color range is incredibly low because it didn't use HDR at all because the disc isn't capable of that. The quality was so low.
It's just the basics.
Yeah,
that's all
the
it shows.
Bare minimum, right?
Yeah.
And so the other interesting thing is the audio profile was only 448 kilobytes a second because it was doing not only was it not doing Dolby Atmos, it was only doing a 5.1 channel, which is what I have at home. It's fine, but it takes away certain profiles, so you don't get certain, let's say there's something on the left or right. It will only do it on the left and right, but it won't try to mimic behind you.
Okay.
So you lose that. Mm-hmm. Just for comparison, to put this home, because a question I'm going to ask you guys will follow up after. I put in a 4K disc. I put in our Coraline disc here that we have mounted, not very visibly, but my favorite stop animation film. I'll go on record to say that. And I think many people will agree it's one of the best. It averaged 70 to 98 megabytes a second, so like 100 times more than 10 times what the Interstellar one did, and it averaged around 4 megabytes or 2 to 16 megabytes a second for audio. So much more.
So much more.
So that did Dolby Atmos, that did 7.1 channel, it did the whole thing, and it's very noticeable, obviously.
Yeah.
I'll let you guys talk about your first time experiences before I ask you this question. Will?
I don't know. I kind of want to watch on that DVD now. I don't know. I'm just curious.
It's really like, do you guys remember watching anything on VCR? Like something that you watched on DVD, then on VCR? Because it's an extremely different. Anyways, I'll ask my question after and it'll make more sense. But please continue.
My first watch. So I used to work as a park warden. So set up like the football field, the soccer field, and then in between the games, like while the games are playing stuff, I'm just sitting down on my laptop watching whatever. So at one point I just sat down, was like, oh, Interstellar. Haven't seen this yet. Click play. It was like a football weekend at my park, so there's like hundreds of people around me, music blasting. So it was a terrible first experience, but I was still able to be like, yeah, okay, good movie, whatever. I'll give it another rewatch. And then like maybe a month later, I rewatched it alone in my room, with, like my proper headset and everything. And oh boy, it completely blew me away. At the time, Shawshank was my favorite movie, and I instantly just put it like, yep, all right, it's right there with Shawshank. And ever since, I don't know, I've probably seen it like 3-4 more times, and I don't know, best movie in my opinion ever made. I don't know about you.
I mean, for me, I don't know if you guys know, but if you guys ever go to like a Cineplex, excuse me. Sorry. If you guys ever go to like a Cineplex, you'll see the workers pretty much have their favorite movie underneath their name tag. When I was working there, I pretty much had my favorite movie as Interstellar, as I'm pretty sure you did too.
Mine
right,
is right now.
Yeah. And I had that as Interstellar when I was working as a cast member, and then I switched it to Good Will Hunting. It was constantly changing between Good Will Hunting, Parasite, or Interstellar. But the first time I saw Interstellar, I cried so much.
Oh, yeah.
Like I don't remember crying so much for a movie other than, for example, maybe like The Notebook, like watching it for the first time, or like Titanic or something like that. But then I saw Interstellar and I cried so much. It just went through so many crazy emotions that I didn't like think I could feel watching a movie. The first time I saw this movie, I don't remember the exact thing I was doing, but I do remember I watched it at home. I watched it through, I rented it. It was pretty much as I was starting to really get into movies, and I had found out that there was this amazing director called Christopher Nolan, and I had already seen the Batman movies, and I was like, he made the Batman movies. Let me check it out. He's a pretty good director, I guess. Let's check it out. And I saw it, and I was just crying. Well, okay, maybe not crying, but I was like sobbing, and I was like watching it, like as he's watching the memory of his like daughter, right? As like the videotapes and stuff. Yeah. And my mom kind of just walked in and was like, "What are you watching, honey?" I'm just like, "Mom, not now, not now." It was so good. Yeah. Oh man, amazing first experience, amazing movie. It's in my top 5. It's in my top 5. 100,000%.
I'm happy you're saying you cried, because the second time I watched it, I think I cried 3 or 4 times, like at different places. That completely killed me.
Oh my god, it's just so good. It just, the range of emotions it just runs you through.
Up and down constantly.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Killed me.
I wanted to get back on the point that you said about this CD, because I do have a CD like this. It's not Interstellar, but it's Your Name, like the anime movie. Mm-hmm. And I had seen the movie before online, like streamed it, and then I wanted to show it to my girlfriend, and then so I bought it, and then I played it for her, and it was like that quality, and I was like, wait,
not for Your Name. You can't do that.
This is not the same quality.
No.
It was so weird just to see it, and I was like, after that, I was like, no way. That's when I started my journey into like 4K movies. Yeah. But oh man, I could definitely feel like for this movie, it would have been a different, complete experience. Like really feeling like nostalgia, kind of almost. Yeah.
It was an incredible realization that we are extremely lucky with the quality of just films that we're able to watch in theater and then bring home and almost have the exact same experience. We talked about it with Top Gun, about how that from theater to home experience is almost identical in some senses. Yeah. And watching it on this lower quality really drove home that realization that, wow, okay, like we're very lucky in this era of technology to be able to, just enjoy something, a craft and an art at its full potential for the artist, for the director, with no, even digitally. We talk about how 4K discs are the way to go. As you said, you got into it after you realize, okay, like some of these, these discs, these are the
$5 bargain bins.
Yeah. Exactly. That's where you get them. And listen, those are real great too, because you'll find some great ones. That's where I found Sully. That's the movie. Found that in a bin. You talk about these 4K discs that you pick up, and they really are amazing and digitally too, you get that experience as well. Yeah, you lose some things, like the audio profile isn't as great, and maybe the quality isn't quite up to par depending on your internet speed, but the experience is that, amazing. It doesn't matter. And you look at a disc like this. The question I wanted to ask you guys earlier is this next generation of people growing up in this new era of technology. You have these, it goes for not maybe just films. This is more of a video game question, because you talk about all these titles coming out and, just this amazing amazing technology that's out there that you can basically have photorealistic, gameplay and whatever. But I'll bring it back to film generally, with all these, amazing CGI and all this technology that's out there that you basically can mimic the world out there without actually stepping outside a studio. At what point do you kind of realize, like, will this next generation of film, just film goers, not filmmakers necessarily, but just people who will want to go to the theater, at what point do they realize that, the stuff that we watch maybe, 10 years ago from, it isn't the same? Like, at what point does, watching Toy Story, the first one, kind of go, oh, that's a nostalgic, that's a throwback, that's, an oldie. Like, at what point? Because saying that's an oldie to me seems to make me feel like I'm extremely old. Yeah. Although it is earlier than my time. I mean,
at this point, isn't it like a 95 for Toy Story? So it's almost 30 years old now.
It's right. It's pushing it. And listen, I wasn't born at that point. I'm only born in the 2000s, but it still seeps into anybody who grew up in the 2000s. That movie still is included. Anything from the 90s,
of course,
up until 2010, I feel like follows that sort of thing. So at one point, do you realize, like, these kids are gonna have probably the best experience that maybe none of us had when we were growing up? And I'm just talking about, like, that younger kid, like, innocence of watching movies and not realizing, like, damn, like, I'm watching this at like 4K and maybe even 8K at some point, like,
At one point, do they tell themselves, like, at one point does the next generation say exactly what we're saying now? Damn, we're lucky to be here right now.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's gonna be ridiculous what the future holds, because we have gone super far in the last, like, 30 years since Toy Story. I remember seeing, like, the first test footage for Toy Story, and it looked terrible. I'm sorry. Like, it looks really bad.
Absolutely.
And nowadays we get the animation films that we have now, like Spider-Verse, and it's just mind-blowingly beautiful. Mm-hmm. We'll have to see, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, when I was, especially during when Spider-Man came out, not the Into Spider-Verse or Across Spider-Verse, but No Way Home.
Right.
When No Way Home came out, everybody all over my page, I'm like a big Spider-Man fan. All over my TikTok page, all over my Instagram page, all I could see was like Spider-Man.
The rumors going around.
Yeah, exactly. And then, like, about 6 months later, everybody started reposting it, but it was now like a nostalgia feeling, right? It was like it's like it's you've experienced everything, but then you kind of miss it, right? I think it's when you miss something, that's when it becomes nostalgic. I don't know.
That makes sense.
That's just like, I feel like for me, as soon as I start really missing something and I watch it and it's not the exact same as the first time I watched it, that's when it becomes nostalgia. Like, that's for me. I don't know.
For sure.
And I feel like quite a few people are definitely going to agree with that. Like Toy Story, I watch it right now. It's not going to feel like when I watched it when I was like a little kid, right? When I watched it like as a little kid, you're amazed by, oh my God, toys are moving. Like, this is so cool. You're not thinking
Buzz
about
is the best man ever.
Yeah, exactly.
Then,
like what's going on with Woody? Why does he want to like get rid of Buzz? Yeah. Stuff like that. But it's the change in, oh my God, I would love everything about this movie to I appreciate how they made this movie. You know?
That's
I feel
true.
like that's the huge part, like huge difference in it.
Mm.
You know?
Absolutely. Actually, just out of curiosity, is there any film that you can watch that's a childhood film or whatever? Your Toy Stories, or for me, it's Monsters Inc. Is there one that like can just transport you back? Because you say like something becomes nostalgic after you miss it, but like, is there any film that you can watch and it really just brings you back to that time period when you were that age without hesitation, no matter, maybe not perfectly, but it just brings you back and you're just like, wow, like, like if you hear a word or you see an image and you can like or
a certain smell.
And you're just like immediately
Yeah.
Transported back to that point without really. It's just more of a bodily thing. It's not something you're trying to do.
I know.
Is there any film? Because for me, it's Monsters Inc. Like I watch that and I can immediately be brought back to like that point in my life, like very much.
To me, it's not an animated film. It's Empire Strikes Back. I don't know. When I was young, I watched that movie on repeat every day. It's like whenever I see that Hoth scene of him like cutting himself loose and fighting, it just brings me back to my childhood home in my living room, just sitting there like, oh man, like I want to be a Jedi too, you know? I wasn't really that big into animated films back then. It was mostly like Star Wars. So to me, it's that and maybe Spider-Man, the original Spider-Man, Tobey Maguire.
So good.
I used to put like you know the blue like sticky tack on my fingers and try to climb the wall in my basement when I was young. It never worked, unfortunately, but maybe one day.
Your parents to buy they sold like the webbed can
exactly.
Trying to like tell them to buy. They're like, it's gonna make too much of a mess, and you're like,
so I'll be Spider-Man. Like, come on, mom.
Oh man, I mean, for me, it has to be the Iron Giant. Iron Giant. I mean, my parents tell me it's because I'm too young to remember, but back when Blockbuster was a huge thing, I was born in Peru. So in Peru, basically, it's kind of like everything that's in the U.S. or Canada, it's in the U.S. and Peru. It's kind of like a couple of years back, you know, just because of the way information travels or news trends or whatever, and pretty much. In Peru, I was running according to my parents, because they always tell me this every single time, like I talk about movies or anything like that with them, they bring it up how the fact that every single time I'd go to Blockbuster, no matter how many times I went, no matter how often I went, I would run sprinting to get the Iron Giant, like the Blockbuster, every single time without fail. So, I mean, I don't have it on my letterbox, but I've probably seen that movie like 25 times.
Fair enough.
So that movie, every single time I watch it, I guess I kind of like picture myself being like running in a Blockbuster, but I don't remember it,
Oh, of
but
course.
because of how many times it's been told to me, I'm like, okay, I was running through the fucking Blockbuster.
You like recreate that memory in your head because parents tell you all the time, but yeah. No, it's sad times. We're getting old, guys.
Okay. We're not getting that old, but we're not quite there.
No, not there yet.
We're not Miller's Planet. We're not going.
Right?
We're not going so fast.
That one there. Yeah. No. I mean, listen. This is a great conversation because it follows perfectly with I find a big core of what this whole film is about. And we talk about how emotional it can be, and it's really. If you watch this when let's say I watched it when it came out, when I was 14, I would never have grasped the real truth behind it and how impactful it really is, this story. This is really one of those stories that like you watch it when you've grown a little bit, and listen, we're not that old, and we're still young people. I'm sure there are people who are older than us watching this thinking, okay, like guys, like let's calm down here.
Come on, guys, get over it.
Yeah, right. But it's just you start to realize like how really great this story is, and I'll say it now. We watched lots of Nolan's films. We talked about The Dark Knight, and I'm not even sure if I said that The Dark Knight was Nolan's best movie. I think we might have even all kind of collectively agreed that it's one of his best, but we couldn't say for certain that it was his best.
Yeah.
And even after watching Oppenheimer for 6 times, 7 times, and being basically addicted to it from the point that it was even announced. Although Alvaro, you might be a bigger fan than I am. You definitely got me hooked, but you might have pushed me. You're quite up there, So
we'll talk about it when Oppenheimer comes out.
Please hurry up, Nolan. Actually, really quickly, on a side note about release dates. So I talked about how. Interstellar came out March of the following year, 2015. So a couple months after the movie was originally released in theater. Normal timetable, right? Yeah. More or less on par with what's happening with Oppenheimer here. A couple months later. Makes sense. Yeah.
I think I know where you're going with this.
Where I'm going with this because he saw me write this down.
Uh-oh.
So we all know when The Dark Knight came out, right?
Yeah.
So
2008.
Exactly. Do you want to guess? He knows, but do you want to guess, Alvaro, when The Dark Knight was released digitally?
Oh boy, I mean, if you're talking 2008, I'm sure they weren't releasing everything digitally back then. Must have gotten pushed, so I'm guessing maybe 2010.
Okay, I'll give you credit. 2011.
Okay, I was close.
Now,
here's 3 years.
Wait, you're not quite ready.
You're not out. Yeah, you're not out.
Where was it originally released? digitally?
Oh.
What was the selling platform? So we have lots of streaming platforms these days. What was the selling platform for The Dark Knight?
Oh,
So everyone was like,
man.
you want to watch The Dark Knight digitally? Come to this platform. What platform was it?
I'm going to guess Blu-ray.
That's a good guess, right? We talked about a bit of that previously about
You have the right color.
Yeah.
Right color.
Right color scheme, absolutely.
Right color. So it's blue.
It's blue.
Blockbuster? No, okay.
If
You'll
Blockbuster
never
and
get
nothing
it.
might
You'll
still be
never
open.
get
No, it was Facebook.
No way. What? Facebook? What do you mean Facebook?
There was this thing called Facebook credits that you could use to like buy online items.
What?
Yeah.
Why is the first I'm hearing of this? This is like the most random thing
makes
ever.
Only
no
figured it
sense.
out because I was we were working on this and I was looking up when it came out digitally because I thought it'd be interesting to find out when Interstellar was supposed to come out. And so we found an article about how it was released digitally for The Dark Knight
Oh my
on
god.
Facebook of all platforms.
Yeah.
I would have I thought Blu-ray was a great guess, but
It's a great
Facebook,
guess.
What
Blu-ray is
the heck?
fantastic. Like it's
God.
unbelievable. The
I don't know. When he saw that, he showed me his computer and like I went on mine, quickly searched it up and saw it too. We looked at each other like,
yeah, he thought my
"What
research was
the hell?"
BS, but
Yeah.
it wasn't. It's
Like, whoa.
no, and it's true. Yeah, it's unbelievable that. But after reading it, it kind of makes sense
I mean,
because
back
of the era.
then,
I guess, yeah.
So yeah,
everyone was on Facebook 24/7 back then.
That's it.
So
right. It was the biggest social media platform
Oh,
at the time.
not
I'm
only the
pretty
biggest,
sure.
but
Twitter
pretty
was
much
not
the
even
only one.
close.
Twitter was maybe like just starting. Was
It-
Instagram a thing back then? Like,
2010.
Yeah, I think it was, but it wasn't the
Barely,
platform
like,
it was
yeah,
today.
exactly.
No,
Yeah, no.
like absolutely. A little shout out to our Instagram if you guys want to go check
yeah.
it out. Forgotten
Look at this
underscore
guy.
popcorn. Anyway, so but, like yeah, like you talk about all these social media platforms that are like huge, right? And Facebook was so massive, so it makes sense for them to because iTunes was not the media. Whoops, sorry, I dropped my earphone there. iTunes was the media library it is now. It's
Yeah.
massive. Everything's on there. You want to watch a movie? You go to iTunes.
Yeah.
Not Facebook. So it's I thought that was a great little piece of trivia there. I knew you'd get a kick out of it too.
Oh my god. What an upgrade though from Facebook to IMAX. Like that's
Like,
the selling point
whoa.
for Oppenheimer, right? I mean IMAX theaters.
Yeah,
Oh my god.
Exactly.
blew my mind when I saw that.
unbelievable.
Talking about IMAX theaters, I actually found a really quick thing from a quick little interview with Timothée Chalamet because okay, first of all, when I saw this movie, I had no idea that he was in it, and then
Yeah,
when I
no.
rewatched it,
Yeah.
didn't know he was in it. Rewatched it again, I was like, wait, that guy looks
I know that
familiar.
guy.
Yep.
You know, then I was like, and then I watched it again, and I was like, that's Timothée Chalamet. I was
There
like,
you
what the
go.
heck? Anyways, but in a quick interview that I saw, apparently he watched this movie 12 times in IMAX theaters.
Whoa.
12 times. Because, I mean, he was rewatching it every single time in just IMAX theaters. And even Nolan had like a private screening for all the actors in IMAX or something like that, in like a park or something. And he was just sitting there. He was crying, apparently. And it was just like an amazing movie. It was his first big movie, I think he said, that he really felt like he was like, oh my God, this is like a part of something that I'm really starting into, you know?
Oh,
Yeah,
for
and
sure.
he wasn't just like, okay, yes, technically him as an actor wasn't necessarily the biggest part of the film. He's in the first act, but him, the character that he was what's the word I'm looking for?
Portrays.
Portrayed. Thank
Yeah.
you. There you go.
I got you.
Every episode Will has to help me out here. He portrayed a really important character, and I think that's where I feel like he's getting it from, and definitely, like I would 100% be on his side with that.
Oh,
like,
for sure.
I'd be really proud of work like that. 100%.
Yeah.
Even if it's just for 20 minutes of the movie or whatever it was.
Way less than that, I think.
It's
Oh,
probably
yeah.
less than
Yeah.
that. The whole first act isn't. I'd say it's about 45, almost an hour. The first act.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm counting the first act as pretty much up until he decides, okay, I'm leaving.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
that makes sense.
He's not necessarily in a lot of scenes, but he's referenced quite a bit to compare him to Cooper.
Yeah.
So that contrast between like older generation and a younger generation who will take over for him when he's gone, which is what he inevitably did.
Yeah.
That is where he's portrayed. And when I think about the character that Timothée Chalamet portrayed, I'm blanking on the character's name right now.
Tom.
Thank you, Tom.
right,
Very
yeah,
straightforward, and I just
Yeah.
completely blanked on it. I think of Timothée Chalamet as Tom. I don't think as Casey Affleck, who was later on a part of it, which he is very good in as well.
Of course,
And
phenomenal
Casey
actor
just
as well.
always is good in what he does, right?
They honestly probably have about the same screen time.
Yeah,
Timothy
right?
and Casey, like,
Yeah.
they're play the same character, two completely eras, but
Yeah.
probably about the same, like 5-ish minutes of screen time, I'd say, because Casey Affleck isn't in the movie for that long.
No, he just plays angry person. Or we'll get into more of that.
Yeah.
Don't worry, I have your blood's not boiling yet. I have more. So don't worry. Don't.
I'm gonna win the quiz this time. I'm telling you that right now, Will.
Nope.
I'm gonna win it.
Nope.
You might. We'll see.
But Casey Affleck, I find he was a bit longer than Timothy.
Yeah, maybe. He's probably
but
more.
It's not. I don't think it's that much more though.
No, but like, I personally found his presence a bit more than Timothy Chalamet.
Yeah, see, that's really interesting because I would say Timothy Chalamet's presence is more impactful to the story than Casey's presence in it. And I remember both their parts very clearly, but I still think Timothy Chalamet's. Does anybody find saying Chalamet's? You have to say Timothy Chalamet. Sorry, I just had to point that out. I feel like I caught myself.
He's one of those people where you have to say the full name.
Right? It's like saying like it goes same thing for Austin Butler. You can't just say Butler because there's a lot of Butlers as well. But like Chalamet's very unique. So, but I still have to say Timothy Chalamet.
Yeah.
But anyways, so Timothy Chalamet. His role I find in that first part there is really important to the story and really drives home that emotional connection that you can get from the entire story. And that's why I think his presence, although maybe not as much screen time, his presence is much more impactful than Casey's time on screen.
Mm-hmm. I find honestly because of Casey, he's really the more like real character. I find it's just like you really get to know what the people around are really going through, because I find with Timothy when he's on role, I mean he portrays it amazingly. He does an amazing job, don't get me wrong. Congrats, Timothy, if you're ever watching this.
If you are, let us know, please.
Yes.
Share it.
But his character was, yes, I agree, was an amazing portrayal of comparison between Cooper and the younger generation. But Casey's character, well, same character, but like Casey's portrayal of the character as an older version was definitely the more... I found anyways, the more real version in the sense that everybody around them was kind of going through what Casey's character was going through, or Casey's Tom's older version was going through, because it's like his kid died, and didn't his other kid die too?
Well, I think not dead, but like
it was like dying,
suffering,
right?
Suffering. Bad lung,
Kid died, and then like the caretaker or the grandfather died,
right.
And he was just like he pretty much was depressed, right? I mean, even though he got like an A+, I'm pretty sure he only got like a B-, I think they mentioned, or like an A-. They didn't let him go to university. Yeah. He had to be a farmer. Yeah. That's like the majority of people around him. That's like the only thing they could do is be a farmer. Mm-hmm. So he was like stuck to that lifestyle, and he was just like going through so much stuff, and he was just a depressed man, unfortunately.
Yeah,
you know, and
you can clearly see that he's been through a lot.
He's
lived through the 20 years that we kind of skip with Cooper being gone on Miller's planet. Mm-hmm. We can clearly see it in his portrayal. Like, this time affected him deeply.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, like, I don't know if it's just Casey Affleck himself, because I mean, I don't know if you've seen Manchester by the Sea, but he portrays him amazingly there too.
That's
that's a movie. That's amazing. But I feel like it's just Casey Affleck's character. Oh, well, okay. Again, I keep confusing myself, but Tom's older version, which Casey Affleck portrays, is just a bigger impact, just a slightly bigger.
You said it perfectly.
Okay.
I don't have anything else to add. You mentioned everything.
My bad.
No, it's perfect. I fully agree with everything you said. He's been through a lot, and the impact at the end of the story, especially that he has, to me, is just much greater than Timothy's portrayal at the start. Because I can't say I remember super well exactly what Timothy's character. Or I did the same thing you did, but Tom did in his early life. Yeah, how it really affects the story, like in the middle part. He's not really that present, I find.
No, that's a fair point. I guess for me, I just find that that initial, to really get everything going without that sort of connection to, because like Cooper's like, I'm gonna leave.
No clue when I'm coming back.
No idea
if I'm coming back.
If I'm coming back, right? And sort of, he leaves, his family in the hands of I can only think of the actor's name.
I don't have the character's name.
Grandfather, grandpa, whatever. Which is the it's on the wife's side. It's not even his dad.
No.
It's so I find that he leaves his family behind, but he leaves. It's very simple in a sense, right? It's always the same. You're the man of the house now. But I find the way that they do it is very much like he wants his son to become a farmer. He doesn't necessarily want his son to become a farmer, but he's okay with it. And his son does seem to want to become a farmer as well, and he's okay with it. They talk about how he's not going to go any further in education and that this is his final path, but he's okay with it. And I like sort of Cooper's, as long as you're okay with it and this is what you want to do, then that's fine. Yeah. And so he kind of leaves him and his family, and he says, please, do whatever you can, and I won't be here to be a mentor anymore. Like, I'm gone, and I just find that jump, and then he's gone, and we only are reintroduced to him after a long time, and you lose all those years where you don't see Tom grow up whatsoever, and you don't see that transformation until he's already to the point where he's comfortably in his career, and he's comfortably, he's figuring out life, although as you guys pointed out, very complicated and not straightforward whatsoever. I don't know. I just find that connection there, and maybe again, maybe I find Timothée Chalamet's portray of that part better than Casey. Maybe that's why I give it more. But that's the part that I've always for Tom's character. I always remember that's Timothée Chalamet.
Yeah, that's fair.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
I might be wrong, but I think the only transformation we see is during the tapes.
Yeah.
We see Timothy be like, "Oh, I met this girl, blah blah," and then it's like, boom, here's Casey Affleck 20 years later.
Immediately, right?
Yeah. It's like, whoa, okay, but. Yeah, it helps you understand as well. Okay, big jump just happened. My guy's been through a lot. And then he's like, yeah, sorry, Dad, I'm going to stop doing these tapes. It's like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Bye, I guess.
Which, that's the one scene that...
Yep, kills me every time.
Every single time. I've seen this movie, I honestly don't know how many times because I didn't put it down. I never logged it when I used to watch it before. And then, I would have to say since about... last year I've seen it 3 times. Actually 4th, for this podcast. 4 times in last year, and every single time I watch that scene where he's rewatching the tapes, at least in teary eye. At least teary eye,
Exactly the same thing for me.
Oh my god. Amazing.
Yeah, that scene is there are so many amazing scenes throughout the entire film.
Yeah.
There are heartbreaking moments of realization, of just loss, but I don't know if any other director, I can't think of any right now, can portray the sense of guilt, loss, you name it, really. Everything in a single frame shot, because it just doesn't move.
No.
And yes, okay, I'm retracting a little bit what I just said in terms of any director. Yes, Nolan and the way he crafted that scene is on him, and he did a great job blocking that entire scene. But McConaughey's acting obviously has to be top notch in that scene, because if you can't do any sort of range that he hit in that entire sequence, the scene dies right there.
Yeah. Like you're talking about, it's still camera, but it's still camera on McConaughey.
Yes.
And he has to show the emotion and just completely break down.
Yeah. I don't know. A lot of actors say that the only way you can get yourself into that is by obviously relating it to something that you can connect to. And anytime I see an actor hit that kind of range of emotion, I hope that the only reason they can connect to it is because they read a sad story or they saw something sad on the news, not something personal. And it brings me back. It reminds me of another actor who, if you guys ever, I'm assuming you all watched Harry Potter at some point. If you remember in, I'm blanking. Is it? It's I'm blanking on which one of the series it is.
Well, what happens?
It's Order of the Phoenix. Yeah, it's Order of the Phoenix. there's a sequence when wow, I'm really blanking right now.
Oh no.
Holy smokes! Wait, give me 10 seconds.
Robert Pattinson.
Oh my goodness! No. Who does? No, Robert Pattinson was Triwizard Tournament. That's the other wrong movie. Will.
Oh,
we're all blanking right now. Sorry. Who did? Oh my goodness! Wait, no. Okay, guys. Wait.
We got this.
15 seconds. Give me 15 seconds.
Order of the Phoenix. They had long hair for Order of the Phoenix, right? That's the one.
Yes.
Or am I confusing it with
No,
the
Order of the
tournament?
Phoenix is.
I'm not going to comment because I clearly made the same mistake. So.
Order of the Phoenix is with Umbridge in it.
Right.
Okay. Yes.
Is, by the way, speaking of from our last episode of Quentin Tarantino and how to craft a villain, Umbridge, the actress, I have never hated a character so much in my life. Just want to point that out there.
But it's not even hatred because she's like a villain. She's just so annoying.
Yeah. So
oh my God, shut up.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Which honestly, I gotta say, like, just quickly as you're searching it, I gotta say Matt Damon, I knew he was like, there was something going towards him, especially with the music. Hans Zimmer did an amazing job, of course. But
we'll get into that.
yes, we're gonna get into that 100%. But Matt Damon, you feel bad for him, but I felt like, it just made me so mad. I wanted to strangle him.
At the beginning, you did. When you first introduced him, you're like, man, that's tough.
Yeah, that's tough. Like, good on him. His planet is like good. Yeah. But then, like, after when you figure it out that he's actually in it to just try to go home because he's lonely or wants to like just do it himself because he's lonely or whatever. Man, I wanted to strangle this guy, especially because
the shot of like Homer Simpson strangling Bart. It's like, if I could just go. Yeah.
Man, especially because we know what everything our main character has gone through, right? Like Matthew McConaughey, we know he's gone through like obviously the hardship of losing watching his daughter grow up, watching John Lithgow, right, which is Donald. Watching him, he didn't get to see him pass away.
No.
Obviously, we know his wife has passed. He's gone through so many things, and then just when he thinks, oh, you know what, we did it, we might just have it. Matt Damon just comes over, Dr. Man. He comes over, the man who's supposed to be the savior of humanity. Just pissed me off.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah.
Same.
I just wanted to bring it up because I know you were talking about like really good villains. He's not a villain technically, I guess, but
in a way,
I guess.
You could say the same thing.
He's a sort of antagonist.
Yeah.
It's
in a way that I guess Dr. Man is. I think you could say you were about to say Professor Brand, right? Yeah.
He is in a sense a villain, but is he really a villain because he really just wanted to inspire, I guess is a way of putting it.
I mean, he
because
doomed his daughter.
That's pretty evil. But at the same time, you kind of somebody had to try something, right?
Oh, of course, it's a fourth down, last second Hail Mary, right?
Absolutely.
But that's it.
Yeah.
No, he's still There's multiple antagonists in this movie. I'd say like Matt Damon is one, Dr. Brand is one, and I'd even go to say that Tom Casey Affleck is in a way almost an antagonist.
Yeah,
he fully tries to stop Murph from saving his daughter.
Yeah,
just because I don't know. I was gonna swear there. Like, I don't like your science. We're gonna be fine. Don't worry. We don't need you. Go back to where you're from.
Yeah.
It's like, what?
That's a very like prominent message in this film. It immediately kind of kicks you or shocks you is the better word to use, because I was writing down different quotes that I found were like kind of funny in it, and there's actually, just to put out one of my favorite quotes, it's so stupid. So Cooper goes to meet with the principal and the teacher about Murph and about like everything that's been going on in class and whatever. And so John Lithgow's character goes, oh, like she's single. And he goes, what is that supposed to mean? And he says, we're not meant to save the, wait, no, sorry, hold on, wait, that's the wrong quote. Where does he write it? Oh, that's the funniest shit ever. It's in my scenes, not my quotes. Here it is. He basically says something along the lines of, she's single, so everybody has to put in their like effort to repopulate. He basically says, which I found. So I wrote in my scenes, I was like, the scene where John Lithgow tells Cooper to get some.
Pretty much. He's pretty
literally
much get some. Yeah.
Oh man. The fact that he's his dead daughter's husband as well. He's like, yeah, go get that as well.
Yeah.
Like, what?
But following that scene where the teacher talks about just sort of the propaganda of the moon landing, which I found was really interesting. And I actually really didn't like. Up until this watch, I actually wasn't sure what time period it was taking in. I knew it was in the future, but I didn't know like
that's fair,
how far into the future we're talking, right? Yeah. So I quickly looked it up, and apparently it's 2067. Okay. So it's not like that far ahead, but it's you know,
I mean,
it's enough to make it almost like, you know, we're talking. This came out in 2014. We're now 2023. So like, we're getting to that point, and you kind of see a contrast to like our reality, our world. We're like, we're not trying to leave it, but I mean,
can we stay here forever?
Can we? Yeah, like we'll be fine, but will like the next several generations be okay, right? So
it's actually interesting. I didn't know it was in like that far, because there's not that many like technological advancements that we see when he's on Earth.
Right. But I think that's the point.
Exactly.
Because, they mentioned that like they stopped like having engineers. There's no more trying to create stuff. There's no more inventions. It's just farmers.
Right.
That's why I just assumed it was like maybe 2030 or something. You know, like not super far ahead. 2067. Like normally when movies are portrayed that far, there's flying cars and all these super crazy like just look at Blade Runner 2049.
2049. Yeah.
That's 25 years away, and there's crazy advancements that probably won't be there by then. No. This is much more realistic, probably.
No, I feel that brings me back to the quote I originally started by accident. Is Brand says to Cooper, he says, "We're not meant to save the world; we're meant to leave it," and that ties into the whole idea of like the technological advances are probably they're capable. But there's no point. There's no point.
Just survive.
If that's the whole point to leave, then why waste time on creating something that isn't worth it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure they even mention it like when they're saying, "Oh, there's no habitable like planets anywhere near here." Like when Matthew McConaughey or Cooper's character, Cooper like runs into NASA. He's like, "There's no habitable planets. Like, how would we like go somewhere else?" And then they explain the wormhole, and then for them, he's like, "Oh yeah, that makes sense." Yeah. Like for him, it makes sense that even though a wormhole, I forget where it was next to. Was it like Pluto or Neptune or Uranus or something?
I don't.
Oh man, I completely forget. Yeah. Maybe it was Mars even. I don't know, but I'm pretty sure it was even further. And for him, he's like, "Oh yeah, that's actually doable." But like for us right now, we can't send people to like past the moon. No, we're sending rovers to like Mars and stuff, but we're not sending people past the moon.
No, we're not there yet.
Yeah,
nowhere near close to that. Yeah, because it's months and months of journey, if not years.
That's it. But like, I guess for that time period, it would make sense, and they have those technological advancements, to like actually get there. I wanted to quickly just hit back on antagonists because we were talking about it and we were saying a couple of lists of people who were antagonists.
Yeah.
This is something that when I was watching it, I was like, wow, this is like, I could write like an essay on this. It's like, I feel like time is an antagonist. Time is the biggest antagonist in the whole movie, I find. It's like, the whole thing is a race against time. The whole thing is time is fighting against you, trying to save the people on Earth, trying to save your daughter, and then all the way at the end, time becomes your savior, right? Because like you're going back in time, or it's a fifth dimension or whatever. Oh, I found it was an amazing loophole, kind of like to the antagonist, and it was great. I find time
number one,
like in terms 100%. Of as a character, I think they portrayed it. Well, Christopher Nolan portrayed it amazingly. I mean, it's what he does best, debatably, right? Nolan. Yeah, I guess with time.
Almost all of his movies have to do with some sort of time manipulation at one point.
Yeah.
Look at this. Look at Inception. Look at Tenet.
Yeah.
He mastered how to play with time in his screenplay.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a big aspect in a lot of his movies.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. He just knows how to do it. Yeah, he's probably the only one who does it best.
Yeah, with time.
Yeah, with time.
Yeah,
hands down.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Speaking of time, it is time for the quiz.
Oh, let's go. I'm winning this. I said that last time, but I'm winning this time. I know it.
So this quiz isn't going to be necessarily as crazy as our last one, but I think we're still going to have some fun little results here. So we're going to start off as we did a couple of podcasts ago. We're going to talk about the box office.
Okay.
We're going to start off with a very simple question. I'm going to ask you of these movies, which one opened at the highest? And this doesn't include Interstellar, because it will help you answer my next one, which is what Interstellar opened at. Let me rephrase that. What I meant to say was, I'm going to ask you which ones of these had the highest grossing after their release. So total, not opening, actually, because I didn't want to put those because the openings weren't actually that good for any of the movies in this time period, which is really interesting. But I will ask you what the opening is for Interstellar. So let's start off with that. What do you think the opening weekend for Interstellar was?
You said November, right?
November was the release, yeah. So I'm not going to tell you at all what the other movies were because it sort of helps get this answer right. And also because I have follow-up questions for those as well.
Okay.
Reigning champion, you want to go ahead?
Gladly. Opening weekend,
yeah.
November. So this would have been after Inception, after Dark Knight Rises 2. So Nolan is pretty hyped up at this point.
Yep.
I will say 50 mil.
I'm going to say lower. I'm probably going to go like 20 or 30. 30, I'm going to say 30. Because if I do remember correctly, I did.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be lower. No,
I did read like an article or something that said it was not popular at first or something, and then it only blew up like way afterwards.
Now that you mentioned it, yeah, it makes sense.
Pretty sure.
Yeah,
but
you're gonna have it.
I'm going 30 mil.
Watch it be like 5.
Oh boy.
Watch it be super low.
Wait, you said 50?
Yeah, I said 50.
Okay, I said 30.
Yeah.
Watch it be 41. Then you're just gonna win it. You're just gonna take it.
I think we should start giving Alvaro a call a friend thing. So the opening was 47
No
million.
way.
So Will
what?
was basically on the dot. That's probably the closest in terms of box office guesses that I think Will has ever been.
Wow.
It has 3 million difference. It's insane guess.
Yikes.
30 is a really respectable response though.
Mm-hmm.
And you're right, though, because the opening for this was not very good.
Yeah.
And I find a lot of Nolan's earlier works usually don't open, other than we're not going to count the Batman trilogy because that doesn't count because that brings in a whole.
It's
But
Batman.
we're talking like screenplays written, like stories that he had written from scratch there, you know?
Oh wow, I'm actually really surprised I got that.
Yeah.
When you said 30 in my head, I went like, yeah, that actually makes a lot more sense.
I thought 30 would make more sense. Oh man, I
Whoa.
just keep like losing these. Damn.
I mean,
I gotta
it's
give it
just
to you.
one.
That was good.
I'll take it.
So Will mentioned earlier, he said that Nolan is already more or less established at this point. Because he's established, how much do you think the budget was for this?
Ooh.
And I'll give you a bit of help, the both of you. It's probably higher than you think.
Am I starting for this one?
I will
Okay.
stop you though if you go like exorbitant. Okay.
Okay.
So I'll help. I'll guide it a little bit.
Because this movie, I do know for a fact there's a huge amount of CGI in this, of course. And then they're doing the launches, they're in NASA, the driving, the cornfield. The cornfield. I'm going. Oh man. Wait, what was the Dark Knight? I forgot. It was like 140 or 120 or something.
Something like that, I think.
Something like that. You know what? I'm gonna go 160.
I'll say it was a $200 million movie.
I feel like you're closer.
You made a face again.
Oh, you made a face?
I'm looking at the cast and like.
Well, I did say I will help you guys if you go way too high. Neither of you went way too high. So that tells you that this number surprised me. Now I know Nolan has really had established himself at that point, but this amount for this movie, particularly in the way it was used, is very interesting. So yes, Alvaro, you're back on the board. 165 million was the reported budget.
Let's go.
So you, both of you, with your numbers so far, very, very close. So
nice.
Very well done. Congrats, you are tied.
Yeah,
we still got some time to go here, but I find that speaking of the cornfield, I just remembered a fact. They legitimately grew all that, and then I believe from what I heard, is that they ended up selling it. Now, I don't know if they sold it and donated the money, but I also heard a report that they sold and just made back some of the budget.
They made profit off of it.
Yeah, they made profit.
I really do hope they donated it, because let's be honest, you really like
yeah,
like you shouldn't be incorporating that back into your budget. Like, let's just be. But that's my
yeah. I mean, it's his own like
philosophy about
production
that,
company.
But you
and
can do whatever you
everything.
want with it, I guess. But at least they sold it, right? And just like chuck it and But
it's cool. I mean, it's Nolan, right? He had to use practical effects for something at least,
that,
right?
Yeah. He's at some point.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have that written down, but it was 500 acres.
Oh
of
my
corn.
god, yeah.
That is so
It's
much.
absurd. That
Yeah.
It's crazy. And they did it, I believe, in an area that was not super well known for it, if I remember correctly. That legitimately, like,
It was in Pekisco, Alberta.
yes, it was. It was a
Canada.
Canadian. Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah, let's go. Crocs.
Represent.
Yeah, no, I'm really surprised by this budget though. 165 million for this seems really high. I would have probably put it lower if I were answering this. So I'm very, very
Damn.
yeah.
All right. 1-1.
1-1.
Going good.
So the movies that came out at the time, there were many notable movies. Polar Express came out.
Wow. Why does Polar Express feel like it
Polar-
came out way before that?
Because the CGI isn't very good in it. But
Huh?
Polar Express.
Yeah.
Damn. To me,
unless
it feels
it was
like
a re-release,
I
which
think it was
might
re-released.
be. I double checked it as well. Now it might be an IMAX release of it, because I double checked it and I actually also went, no, that doesn't make sense.
yeah.
So
Yeah, so Polar
It
Express
might
is
be an IMAX.
2004.
yeah, okay.
Okay.
See, I asked that question because I wanted to get your guys' reaction before I included it, because I even looked up the supposed box office for it, and this website didn't want to give me the proper number for it, and on my behalf, I didn't actually dive too much further into it.
Yeah.
Because it isn't the most notable necessarily of this entire list, and I'll go through it. But it on its IMAX re-release, it did 139,000, which I thought was really funny, because I was like, that doesn't make sense. Like, this movie had Tom Hanks in it,
Yeah,
Tom
no.
Hanks again in it, and
There's something
Tom
wrong
Hanks
with
again
that.
in it, as
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
played like 3 different characters.
There's something wrong with that. There's no way.
So it's more than likely a re-release. All right, but the other movies in that I can definitely say were Big Hero 6 was in theaters. These are all movies within the month of November, when
okay.
competing with Nolan.
Okay.
Theory of Everything,
Oh, that's good.
One of my
Dumber
all-time
and Dumber
favorites.
2.
Wait, what was the other? Sorry.
Dumber and Dumber 2 came
okay.
out as well. Birdman came out as well.
Oh,
Okay.
Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 1 came out.
Ooh, it's big.
Penguins of Madagascar. Horrible Bosses 2.
Oh my
and
God.
The Imitation Game.
Wow.
So of those,
Back-to-back bangers.
the notable ones that I thought would be fun to guess the amount. Now, I'm not going to ask you specifically which number, because that'll take a bit of time. I'm just going to ask you, out of these box office releases, which one had the highest grossing number. So of these, I'm only going to ask for Big Hero 6, Dumber and Dumber 2, Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 1, and The Imitation Game. Which one of those do you think had the highest grossing box office?
is it a trap? Did he put Dumb and Dumber 2 in there?
I know.
Interesting.
Is it a trap?
If you need me to repeat the names, remind you, just ask me.
I know my answer.
You know your answer. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, you did win the last point, so once you have yours locked in,
Yeah.
then I'll let Alvaro start this one.
Oh yeah. Okay. I thought Will was gonna go. I thought we were doing like 1-1.
Okay, well, honestly, I forgot who started
Okay,
it.
okay.
So,
I'll go Big Hero 6.
Okay.
okay.
I'm going Mockingjay because it's a third movie.
That was
It's
my
a series.
It's the two I was hesitating
Yeah,
between.
yeah. I'm going Mockingjay.
So,
Was it neither one?
I don't like it when you make
Oh,
faces
yeah, I
like
know.
that.
He's making faces. Like,
The
making us wait.
suspense.
Alvaro has a lead.
Let's go.
I was hesitating between the two.
Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 1, 755 million
Wow.
at the box
That's
office.
a lot.
Not far behind Big Hero 6, 657 million.
Man,
Okay.
that's a lot though.
Yeah.
That's a
It was-
lot.
I knew it was going to be between those two.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
I thought you put Dumb and Dumber 2 in there, and I was like,
Dumber and
watch it be
Dumber
like
did
800
169.
Okay.
Still
Okay.
pretty
for
respectable.
a
but
stupid
not-
comedy like that.
Yeah.
I mean,
Respectable.
Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Yeah. Imitation Game did 233 million.
Great.
Yeah, it
movie.
sounds about right
yeah,
actually.
yeah.
Yeah, that's good. That's really good.
It was never going to be a movie that would bring in
No,
crazy money.
No, it's
so.
It's
an
a
art
good
piece.
movie.
It's
Yeah,
really
yeah.
good.
I feel like Theory of Everything is something similar to that too. It's probably less, for sure less, but It's good.
Yeah.
Eddie Redmayne. Damn, really good.
So to sort of speed this one up, I'm gonna skip over the total amount for grossing. Does anybody actually have a guess of what it is?
Total grossing?
Yeah, this total grossing for this movie. Now I'm not including this in the quiz because I actually have two numbers here, but they're both like within a couple million of each other.
Okay.
But it's important for the next question I'm gonna ask you, and that's why I'm gonna get this one out of the way.
Do I go first?
Yeah, your turn.
Again,
Yeah.
it's not. This isn't counting for any points. So just
Oh, okay.
I'm going 800.
600.
Okay, you guys it's right in the middle of it. So I have the first initial report was 703 million, and the final report number I have is 773 million.
Damn.
Now, the reason I bring up 773 million is because the next question I'm going to ask you is where does Interstellar land in Nolan's box office earnings?
Ooh.
Where does it land in all, including Oppenheimer to this point?
Including Oppenheimer.
Where does it land in his line of like box office? Because he's had a lot of big hits, we know.
Yeah.
So
When did you get Oppenheimer's number?
Okay, it is not long ago. It was, I believe, the last one I checked was August. So it's at least a month into its earnings, which as we know, Oppenheimer has continued to earn.
Oh yeah.
But I think more or less like it's reached its full to the point of these numbers.
Oh boy, where does it rank? Let me look at
I
these
think you're
movies.
going first, right?
Yeah. I have the list here of his movies. So we know how much Dark Knight made. I don't know if you remember. We had a quiz on this.
Yeah, we did.
If you remember, then you have a slight advantage.
Mm-hmm.
Possibly.
I will go fourth.
Yes. That was my guess. I'm gonna go fifth then, because my guess
you
was
don't
fourth.
have to switch your number. That's
You can go
I'm
fourth
just
too.
saying,
You can
you
go
don't
fourth.
have
Yeah, of
to.
course.
For me, I
I'm-
have to think. Like Oppenheimer is up there, then The Dark Knight, then Dark Knight Rises, and then it would probably be like Interstellar. That's
I'm just not
guess.
sure if Inception is above it.
So
Oh,
just
eh?
to clarify, the stats I got were from August 4th from
Okay.
an article. I didn't dive into the actual updated numbers.
Yeah, I mean, my list was not like in numbers, by the way. It was just like the way we're up there.
Yeah.
It's like Oppenheimer's
I mean,
one.
if I were to
Yeah.
guess the order, Dark Knight, Oppenheimer, Dark Knight Rises, Interstellar, Inception,
Yeah,
whichever one made more. I don't know how much Inception made.
I feel like Inception.
It's 2010.
Yeah, I honestly feel like Inception didn't make as much just because of how confusing of a movie it was. Like
That's
it
true.
wasn't confusing,
That's
but it was
true.
like confusing. You know what I
Very
mean?
true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like so many people just said, "Oh, you know what? I'm not gonna go rewatch that." But Interstellar, some people might have been like, "Oh, you know what? I'll rewatch it." You know,
Did
it was
Dunkirk
good.
do anything? I don't think so. Like, it was good. It's a good movie.
Wait, which one?
Dunkirk.
I don't think it did too much. I don't think
it
so.
did that much.
War movies don't usually do huge amounts.
Especially not this one. That's like,
Yeah.
it's not really a narrative story. It's just a visual masterpiece, right?
Amazing.
Like, yeah.
I honestly have to think. I think fourth is the best answer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're both going fourth.
I'm going
Can we
fourth.
do that?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. Just for future quizzes, just go with whatever your gut says, even if it's the same answer.
Yeah, it's fine. That's fine. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, you're both right.
Okay,
It's fourth. All time. It did really well, obviously. The one that what did you say was the highest grossing for Nolan?
I was saying Dark Knight first.
Okay. Fun fact, it actually isn't. Dark Knight Rises past it, but
What?
we're talking like a couple million.
Okay,
yeah,
but
Well, actually, not necessarily a couple million. We're talking 1,000,000,006 for Dark Knight and 1,000,000,081 for.
That's quite a bit.
It's quite a bit, actually.
Yeah,
Okay.
200 million. Yeah.
And I can actually see why, because it's the last one, and we knew it was the last one, so
Yeah,
I can
fair.
see
Fair.
why
That's
people would
fair.
want to come and see it.
Especially after Dark Knight, everybody
Yeah,
wants to come see it. Yeah,
exactly.
no, that makes sense.
That's
actually.
fair.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I see that.
You're talking about Inception. That is actually third on his list. It's
Oh,
at
what?
870 million, which is incredible.
Yeah.
Dunkirk is up there as well. Oppenheimer isn't actually on this. Actually, it
What?
is on this list. Like I said, from August,
Yeah, because
it was reported at 425 million, which I know for a fact is no longer
that is
accurate.
no
No,
longer the
no,
fact. It is
no.
now at 934.
So putting 934, it's his now third highest film
Okay.
ever.
So you would have been right with 5.
I technically.
Yeah.
I
Technically
guess.
would have been right, but I was, like I said, I was very adamant about the time I took the numbers, so I wasn't
Okay.
going to let
Okay.
that skew it.
So I remember looking into Oppenheimer not long ago to see if it became the highest R-rated, but it's not quite there yet.
It's getting there. When we do it, don't try not to remember that stat. It's
okay, I'll X out right away.
Yeah, just forget it. So nobody gets points on it. Alvaro still leads by 1 at the moment, so 2-1. All right. We talked earlier in the podcast about the amount of time Cooper was stuck on that planet and how much time he lost. I'm going to ask you for specific. So somebody briefly mentioned the time. I'm not going to remind you, but somebody briefly reminded, and I'm sure you have an idea, but I'm going to ask you for as specific as you can get because I have the exact amount. Because they do mention it. They mention it. He's like one of the first things
I forget
that is mentioned when
the
they
character's
enter
name,
back.
but he says it like to the day.
Yeah.
To the day.
Oh,
wait, are we saying to the day?
To the day.
Oh,
well, because
so I need a
the
year.
other scientist with them when they come back, he says it.
He
I remember to the
this
day.
year's month.
I remember the year.
So year, month, and date.
Month and day. I don't remember at all.
I don't either.
Like
it's
I said,
your turn.
as close as you can get it.
I know the year as well.
So most of you will probably know the years. So I'm going to say, just to make it a bit easier, give me at least the month. So year and then the month. That's it.
Year, month, no day.
No day. Forget it. It's fine.
Okay.
Although you should know it if you watched it 4 times. No.
That is actually something that eventually I'll know by heart. I'll know this by heart after.
Yeah.
For sure.
Your turn to go first.
Oh, it's my turn?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I know the year. I don't know the months, though.
The year's 23 years. Oh, man, now I feel like I'm wrong.
Well, that's not the year I had in mind.
Oh.
Oh, no. Who's right?
Interesting.
Watch both of us
I'm
be
between
wrong.
23 and 28. It was either 23 or 28 years.
Now you're making me doubt.
Yeah, that's why I couldn't remember very well.
I didn't think this question. This was like a really. I was watching and I was like, that'd be a good question just for fun. Didn't think this question would be so complicated.
I'm gonna just say a random day, but I'm gonna go 23 years. Screw it. 23 years, 7 months, 10 days. That's my date. That's my thing. I'm gonna write it down so I don't forget. 23 years.
I also wrote it down.
Oh, okay,
I got
perfect.
you.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
So I thought it was less than 23.
Oh, okay.
For some reason, I have the number 17 that came to mind. 17 years.
Are you
Okay, maybe
mixing
I'm really
numbers?
wrong then.
Who knows? Again, it was a long time, right? It's.
All I remember. Which fun fact, by the way, in Miller's Planet, every single tiny little click, it's a whole day passing on.
Yep.
Fun fact. Anyways, go ahead. Sorry.
Here we go.
Okay, well, I'll stick my 17 years. 8 months and 93 days. That doesn't make sense
You
at
even
all.
added the days. 93. It's sure.
That doesn't make sense at all.
93 days.
I don't know why 93 came up in my head, and that's what I said.
All right. All right. Well, Alvaro is right.
Damn.
Let's go.
He's right about the years. It is 23 years.
It is.
It is 23 years, 4 months, and 8 days.
8 days. Oh, I was close. I
You were
said 10.
close.
I
You
said
were
10.
Yeah, so
Why'd I have 17?
7 months is pretty close to, I'd give you that. I was kind of worried that Will would get the 23 years for sure. And I think what really happened here is you psyched him out because then you said one number, he said another number, and he was like, wait, hold on. So, yeah, 23 years is a long time.
Yeah.
But honestly, between 17 years, 23 years,
The
amount of time missed
Yeah.
in a matter of hours
Crazy.
is insane. Like
Yeah.
psychologically, I don't know how you.
No,
you know,
I don't know how you recovered from that.
I mean, I'm
No,
pretty sure they said
absolutely.
every hour was like 7 years on Earth. And I'm pretty sure they said they were there for about 3 hours or more. So
Okay.
that's what I remember. So I was like, okay, if it was 3 hours, then 21, so a bit maybe higher. And if it was 4 hours, I was like, if it was 4, maybe like 28. So I was in between those two. That's why I couldn't remember very well. Yeah, but yeah.
All right.
Why did I have 17 in my head? I'm trying to, because to me 17 is such like a clear number. I don't know why. It has something to do with it. I'll think about it later.
It could be in reference of like what was the exact amount of time they gave them out. Like they were like when you go on to Milner's planet, there is for every hour that passes, it's because they didn't say it's years, they said it's a certain amount of time. And I'm not sure if it was 17, the number they used.
Yeah, I don't know why that number.
But-
Like you said Miller, and it went boom 17 in my
You
head.
know what? I think doesn't Cooper, when Cooper's talking to Brandt, like in the plane after they just lost the other guy, I completely forgot his name.
That might be it.
Yeah, I think he's like,
We just
how many
lost.
years did we just lose? How many years? And she's like 17. I think that's what you're talking about. I'm pretty sure. I don't know.
That's very possible.
Maybe.
I don't know. All right.
Yeah.
It's very possible. If
Fair
anybody
play, fair
knows,
play.
feel free to comment down below on our YouTube page and let us know what you think. So that does it for the quiz. Alvaro has won his first quiz. So if we can get some likes for that one. So it is now 2-1, Will, in the series of quizzes. Just for fun, I had one more question just in case of a tiebreaker. It is reference to Nolan once again. Where does Interstellar land on Nolan's film catalog in terms of length? And I'm talking minutes. I'm not going to talk hours. Let's just talk minutes here. It's interesting. As we know, Oppenheimer, 180 minutes, the longest film that he's made.
Yep.
And as we know, Nolan is well known for making... Most of his movies are
Pretty long.
Yeah.
Actually, not most. I think all his movies, except for The Following, are over 2 hours easily.
Yeah.
Whether it's 2 hours 15 or more. This one landed at a lot longer than I thought. 249. So you're quite up there. Yeah. So 249 in hours. Do you know what that is in minutes? So if you can do some math here, you can get the answer right. But just you said 169.
Yeah.
Any guess just for fun?
Like where it falls in his filmography, I'm gonna skip to the fourth.
I'm saying third.
Like fourth longest movie.
Okay.
I have a feeling it's Oppenheimer, Dunkirk, and then Interstellar.
Oh, Dunkirk.
That's
See,
my
I don't
guess.
actually have the list of other movies.
Yeah.
But so it's second all time.
Second all time.
Yeah.
Wow.
And to really, I mean, thinking about it, 249, 169 minutes. Oppenheimer's the longest one.
Are you searching up Dunkirk? now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
'cause now
That's
you said that,
literally
I'm
what I was about to
curious.
do. How long is it?
Hour 46?
No way.
No way. No, you're lying.
you're joking.
That's
You're
like
joking.
some like narrated cut version. Get out of here. You're wrong.
Wait, what? An hour 46?
No, it's not. Get out of
What
here.
Dunkirk did I watch?
An hour 46.
You know what?
Yo.
You might. You know, it's so funny because Alvaro a couple weeks even ago, he was just like, I was like, yeah, I'm trying to go through all of Nolan's catalog.
yeah.
And I was like, yeah, which one should I watch next? And he gave me a list based off of not even time. He just based it off of just like, you know, okay, you just watched The Prestige, so I think this should be the next one. And he mentioned Dunkirk as the next one. And I remember texting him back going, yeah, this is a really short one. I'm going to be able to get through this one and another one in the same day. 149. So actually, is the following still his shortest?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure it's like, and not even, I'm pretty sure it's like 90 minutes or something. It's like literally an hour and a half or
like
something.
not even
An hour 10.
An hour 10.
hour
Yeah,
10.
there you go.
Yeah. So not even long. Okay.
Whoa, okay.
Yeah. That completely changed
That
my whole
really
perspective on
makes you
Dunkirk.
wonder about his pacing in that film, if it really felt that long.
It felt
I could
really
have sworn
long.
it was a 2.5-hour movie.
Really
yeah, at
interesting.
least.
You know, now that I think about it more, I couldn't see how it's not 2 hours even. That's interesting.
Okay.
It's funny because I actually put that in like my top 5 of Nolan movies. I really do love
Oh, it's
Dunkirk.
great.
Yeah,
I
it's
think
amazing.
it's fantastic. But
I'm just searching all of them up. I'm sorry.
yeah, really, that's phenomenal.
I honestly, if we're talking Christopher Nolan, I have to be honest. If I were to rank my Nolan list, I'm not going to rank it right now, but I'm just going to say, I got to say, even though Tenet is my one probably all the way at the bottom, I still enjoyed it. I enjoy every single one of these movies.
Oh,
I don't think any of
100%.
them is like a flop, technically.
You called Tenet a dud a couple episodes ago?
I called it one of Nolan's duds.
Yeah.
If not his only dud. And
But I still don't think it's a dud.
and we talked about different directors who can consistently just make film after film, and Scorsese does it, and you know, Tarantino, we talked about his Inglourious Basterds, and we talked about his last film. You know, it's just Tenet wasn't it just wasn't what we talked about time and how he is one of the directors who can really do well with time. And honestly, yes, Tenet is one where I don't think any other director could have probably made Tenet what it was.
Yeah.
But I just in the Nolan catalog, I don't think it's his best. And and Will, you even said that The Dark Knight's not even one of his best. In a sense, I understand what you're saying and where you're coming from when we're talking about just Nolan movies.
Yeah.
But Tenet still surpasses so many different films.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
100%,
with ease.
100%.
For sure.
So I just want to clarify before anybody starts to jump on me on
Like
that
even
one.
though it's a dud. It's
Yeah, again,
still
quotation marks.
Quotation marks.
Yeah, for anybody on
dud.
Spotify.
Yeah, for him.
For him.
For him.
I think it's still on my letterbox. I think it's still on my top 100
It's amazing.
because I still love that movie
Yeah.
to bits. Like all his movies are in my top 100 because
I mean,
I'm an
did
old
I
fanboy, of
find
course,
it
but
absolutely confusing and
for
yeah.
mind-boggling, frustrating?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, of
But
course.
so did Oppenheimer. The first
Oh.
time I watched it,
Yeah,
I
I
wasn't
guess.
entirely up to date with everything that I was about to watch, and I
Yeah.
did that on purpose because I wanted to see how Nolan would give that information, how he would demonstrate the science and the politics behind it. And yes, I was certainly confused who certain characters were the first time I watched it.
Yeah.
I wasn't entirely sure. And yes, the contrast between black and white certainly helped and it gave me that perspective. But I'm still happy that at the end of the day, I still came out with what the general story and what he was going for.
Exactly.
Which I saw Will like immediately after it,
Yeah.
and he had watched it the night before, and we both agreed like it's certainly not the most straightforward film with the jumping of timelines, but the story and the moral dilemma and everything is just there, and you get it regardless of if you understood.
The first time I watched Oppenheimer when it ended, I sat there and I was like, what do I think of this movie? I had to think about it for a second. I was like, is it a 5-star? 4.5? And I was like, I ended up giving it a 4.5 after my first viewing. So I was like,
and then I remember, I think
mine was
I give it a 5.
4.
yeah, you give it a
I think
5
I give it a
straight
5
away.
right away.
Yeah.
I mean,
Because to me, I was like, I know I'm going to watch this multiple times in theaters.
Yeah.
I'll give it 4.5 for now. Next time, it'll probably be a 5. And it was.
Yeah.
'Cause-
oh yeah.
Yeah. Especially since my second time was 70mm IMAX.
70mm
It was, wow.
Yep.
Yeah.
We'll jump into that.
One day.
You know what? We keep saying we're gonna wait, but man, is it difficult not to want to talk about this, especially if we keep watching Nolan movies? I think we should stop watching Nolan movies.
This is our
Or else I'm gonna-
second Nolan movie. Like,
Yeah.
oh man,
Like he's so good. He's just so good.
amazing.
Speaking of people who are amazing, though, I really, we really need to touch on Hans Zimmer.
Yes.
Because this entire film, if not like you talk about Nolan, but I feel like you talk about Interstellar, Zimmer is definitely the second name that comes up.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like
yeah.
it's, I oh my goodness, okay. I'm going to talk about, I did some research on the scores as I did for our Joker podcast. I'm talking about the scores. We skipped a little bit in the next couple of episodes, but I'm back with a bit of information for this one because it's really just, this might be one of the, I don't want to say it's the greatest soundtrack, but man, is it good.
It's my favorite. I said it right
okay.
there.
Oh,
It's my favorite.
So, two notable scenes, or at least scores. One called the Cornfield Chase, which arrives very
So
early
early.
into
So
the
early.
film, almost immediately. That is average of 94 beats per minute. It goes up to 188 beats per minute. And it drops as low as about 50 to 60, which is always something to be aware of when you're listening to it. And that's how I think we talked about Hans Zimmer previously, just in brief. But that's how really great scores are usually built, around highs and lows like that. The key of A, I mean, these are very noticeable things when you listen to the score. There's, this isn't technical stuff that only certain musicians would pick up on. These are things that your average listener will pick up on. And that's why these scores are good. Because Hans Zimmer doesn't alienate the viewer in making these absurd and complex and crazy, only things that maybe a certain type of musician would enjoy.
Right.
He makes it so that it's just so great that you can listen to it outside the film, within the
Anytime.
film, and you still enjoy it.
Yeah.
And that's what all composers go for, but not all composers can nail.
Yeah.
Another one.
Fully agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another score, I'm Going Home, average of 86 beats per minute, key of C, and then up to 172 beats per minute. Again, there's a lot of high pace. We talked about it earlier. High pace, low pace. That's Nolan. I talked about it previously in The Dark Knight, about his rhythm, up, down, up, down.
Zimmer matches it perfectly
Zimmer
with the
matches
score.
it.
He understands his filmmaking style to
Oh,
the
yeah.
T.
Yep,
Yeah,
absolutely. Does anybody actually know what instrument was dominant within this film?
I would think piano.
So it is piano.
Okay.
Isn't it like a what is it called? Like the big church one with all the pipes and stuff.
So it's organ.
Organ. There we go.
Yeah, it's amazing. He just brings out every note in it, and somehow makes anything he touches just seems to be so good,
magical.
And so the question to you guys is this film, because Will and I looked up briefly the amount of work that Zimmer has put in to every movie that's come out. He always has a foot in everything. Yeah. We talked about Top Gun. He's credited in it, but at what capacity? He isn't even like the main composer, but he's still credited in it. We looked it up. He's in a SpongeBob. He's credited in one of the new
SpongeBob movie.
No way.
He's like the musical supervisor or whatever for SpongeBob.
Man,
it's ridiculous.
Everywhere, all the time.
Yeah,
and for good reason.
Yeah, of course.
So my question to you guys is this his best work? Is Interstellar his best score? Because he has probably some of the greatest scores of any artist, any composer.
Yep.
But is this his best one?
I'm gonna say yes, because it's my favorite. So I'm very biased.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah,
fair.
I'm saying it's his best because I'm very biased. But I have to give it to. I'm not even gonna lie. As much as I prefer the movie The Dark Knight over The Dark Knight Rises, I found the score in The Dark Knight Rises better. That was me, especially with the Why Do We Fall? Oh man,
yes.
Yeah.
So good.
I'm so glad you brought that in.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
So good.
So like I don't know if you guys are familiar with Masterclass. Masterclass is pretty much if you're not familiar with it, it's pretty much any single famous person or anybody that's really a master of their craft pretty much goes on this website and they publish videos on how they do stuff. And so Hans Zimmer has like a couple episodes, Martin Scorsese as well. And I was watching just Hans Zimmer's just why not? And I'm pretty sure in the masterclass, he explains that as much as he doesn't have a favorite or he doesn't have like his best work yet, he's waiting for his best work to come out yet, but Interstellar is his favorite so far. Yeah. It's like he finds this is his best work, and I have to agree with him. It's his best work. It's my favorite movie of his. This is my favorite soundtrack of his, and it's honestly the most iconic. You think Hans Zimmer, you think Interstellar. I don't know about. I mean, most people don't really know too much about composers. Yeah. But if you bring up Hans Zimmer, it's like, oh yeah, he did Interstellar, right? Yeah. Yes.
I think Zimmer.
That's true.
I instantly think Nolan.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true too. That's true too. Yeah.
Name whatever Zimmer-Nolan collaboration you want. I make that connection instantly. Yeah. Interstellar, Inception, all the Dark Knights. Like, it happens instantly. Dunkirk. He's Dunkirk as well.
Yeah,
like,
Dunkirk too. Yeah,
he has his foot in everything.
Yeah. It's hard to say if it's his best, because obviously he's in everything. Like, I'm just looking here. Blade Runner 2049, Dune, Gladiator, The Amazing Spider-Man 2, apparently, Man of Steel.
What?
Like, he's No Time to Die. He's in that too.
No, that actually makes sense.
Pirates of the Caribbean.
Ooh,
Lion King.
Good.
So that was going to be my response to
Pirates of the Caribbean, eh?
That it's either
so iconic.
Yeah, it's either Interstellar or Pirates of the Caribbean. Those two are so good. Like, yes, all of the Batman, they're all great, but I feel like, man, the Pirates of the Caribbean one is just, I don't know. It's, again, bias to nostalgia, like, for sure.
Yeah.
And a lot of his scores, like, he's great. He works within the film. Sometimes he doesn't even work within the film because he doesn't know what the film is yet. You know,
which is exactly the case for this movie.
Exactly.
He had no clue what he was writing about.
Yeah, I think he had a bit of dialogue, like a bit of like a premise, like very, very brief Nolan premise, like, father, leave, whatever.
Yeah, Nolan wrote him a one-page thing where it's like, it's about a father who leaves his family.
Go.
That's it.
Yeah.
And then Zimmer's like, I'm gonna go use an organ. Like,
who thinks of
that?
He sat down and wrote a musical love letter to my son. That's what Zimmer said, and that's what it came out to be.
It's incredible.
It's gorgeous.
How?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Music composing is extremely. You have to have a gift for it.
Oh yeah.
There's not a lot of people out there that can do what he does. And you said it. There's people don't know a lot of composers because they don't get a lot of time out in the sunlight of Hollywood glory. But like Zimmer, man, like
everyone knows a Zimmer score.
Everybody knows.
Even if you don't know the name, you know the scores.
Yeah, you've heard it.
Oh,
You've heard it.
100%.
Easily. Everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I honestly have to say, like, I feel like Hans Zimmer is probably the best composer for movies, in my opinion. And then I have to say, I feel like Ludwig Göransson kind of like follows through, and then but John Williams is the most iconic.
That's
Iconic.
true.
Yes.
That's true.
Yeah.
He's the most iconic with so many movies.
Yeah.
Because he's Star Wars,
Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
Jurassic Park too.
Yep,
I think.
Jurassic
Right?
Park.
Yeah. Like
E.T. came to mind as well.
Yeah.
Like the most iconic movies, John Williams.
Yeah.
But the best work, I have to think it's Hans Zimmer and Ludwig. I mean, Hans Zimmer at top, but like not by far by Ludwig. You know, I think one of my favorite pieces of like soundtrack music. First of all, it's the excuse me, what's it called? It's No Time for Caution. Pretty much when they're doing the lock, you know,
the docking scene.
The docking scene. I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
that's the No Time for Caution. That's when it's playing. Amazing. That's I think my favorite piece of soundtrack movie ever. And then it's Ancestral Plane by Ludwig Göransson from Black Panther. It's like as soon as you go in,
regarded.
oh my god,
Yeah.
I like those. They're both amazing.
Yeah.
Like I have to give it to them, hands down. I would never be able to do it. Obviously, but anybody on this like whole cast roll never be able to do anything they do. But Hans has my hat fully down, and I fully take it down, hands down for Hans.
Took his hat off. Oh my goodness.
Hans is honestly like, I listen to him on the car. I listen to him in the bus. I listen to him like I listen to him like everywhere. He's amazing.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure we all have like a movie playlist, right? With just scores and scores.
Yep.
It's like 90% him anyway. So
that's
100%. Yeah, you go from like something somewhat modern, and then all of a sudden, like fucking Star Wars theme will just blast in my ear. I love that. Yeah, I honestly just love everything that Nolan's able to bring out of use the music correctly. But sometimes you see movies from Nolan and you think, is Hans Zimmer following the movie, or is Nolan following what Hans Zimmer's putting out?
Honestly,
right?
yeah.
It's
they go so like hand in hand.
They
together.
work well so together. And then I have to bring it up because you brought it up with Ludwig. Just okay.
do it.
Yeah, I know.
Every time, obviously, but like, you watch Oppenheimer, and we even discussed it. We're like, oh. Yeah, Zimmer did a great job in Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
Didn't even touch it. Wasn't even him.
Nope.
And it's like, but that's just how good Nolan's able to find the right composer for his work, and for the composer to work perfectly within what Nolan's looking for. And because Nolan follows the same pattern with most of his movies, and so the scores follow very similar. Because I even said it to you guys a while ago. Oppenheimer's soundtrack follows very similarly to the Dark Knight soundtrack. And that's where I thought Zimmer was the composer, because there's a score in Oppenheimer with I believe it's just before the I might even be American Prometheus. I actually can't remember the score name at the moment, but they follow basically one for one rhythm with one of the most noticeable Dark Knight themes, which is that high pitched eerie. And then because I can't remember the actual name of the score right now. I'm just describing it to you guys, but it's a high pitched eerie, and then it's Nolan thundering crash of just noise and sound, and just this intense thumping that you can feel. And both of those films follow the same rhythm,
very similar,
of just like boom, 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 and then just like quiet, calm, and then bam, right back at it. So that's where I thought Zimmer and Ludwig Göransson followed the same footsteps. But it's okay. Like, it doesn't matter. I would have been maybe a little bit more skeptical of like both of them having similar scores if it was from different directors. But because they're both Nolan, I was like, okay, well, like it's Nolan, right? So like you kind of want to match his tone.
It makes sense that you make that mistake between the two.
It
makes sense.
I'm all for it. All right. Before we end this podcast, I wanted to ask, I had a couple of controversial questions that I wanted to throw in here, but we just had such a good time talking about everything else that was good about this movie. I wanted to end it on maybe a bit of a negative note.
Let's hear it.
So I researched a little bit of the bad parts of Interstellar, because there's a lot of debate whether the science is super accurate, although he did work together with a scientist on it.
Yeah, physicists, astrophysicists, everyone. Yeah.
So he tried to stay as true to, it is sci-fi after all, right?
Yeah.
We're not calling it a documentary.
Of course.
But a lot of it follows to be true. One of the big arguments is for Nolan, this isn't just for Interstellar, but this is for Nolan amongst all his movies, and his ability to write female characters. And I wanted to bring it up because it's, again, as we just finished talking about Oppenheimer, it's somewhat obvious within Oppenheimer. And this is the quote that I took. I love this because it really puts you into the idea of where this controversy comes from for Nolan. Let me find it.
I know exactly which quote you're talking
yeah,
about.
I'm just trying to find it so I can nail the quote for you guys here.
Really bring it home.
Mm-hmm. It's definitely a way.
This person talked about Murph's character arc and basically put it down to this. Her entire character arc is so much so that her entire life is nothing but daddy issues.
Yeah.
And the second I read that, I was right next to Will. I showed him that, and he went, "Yeah, all right."
Yeah.
And so I wanted to really kind of just talk about it because really a lot of directors follow that same suit, and it's very old Hollywood standards. And we're slowly seeing a bit more, pushing away from that. And I'm not going to include Oppenheimer necessarily directly in this sort of debate because it's a documentary. Mm-hmm. So you're going to perceive the characters the way that they were written about. Yeah, and there's only,
story.
That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But for his other written stories, I can definitely see it from the ones that he wrote for himself. Even in The Dark Knight, you can still see that sort of just brushing off how impactful Rachel really is in Bale, or sorry, not Bale, but in Bruce Wayne's life. He's kind of just writes it off as like love interest, point final, and you're like, yeah, but
even
like
with
there's
Harvey
more
Dent.
to it.
Yeah,
even with Harvey Dent, she had more of a
just
role,
the love interest,
just a love interest, and that's what it was at the end, just a battle between a love interest, and it's like. That's too bad, because Nolan's really a creative and smart screenwriter that like it's almost insulting. And that's maybe where Tarantino might step ahead of Nolan because as we saw with Inglourious Bastards, female leads are much more, it's not just they're female. There's way more. Yeah, they're badasses.
Yeah,
all his female characters are badasses.
Yeah. So, I just wanted to see what you guys had to say about it.
I mean, you said there was talking about Murph's character story arc, but it's also Brand's story arc.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Why is she
I have
doing
another
this?
quote here for it. Yeah.
she literally brings up love in the whole thing.
Yeah.
The only reason she wants to do it is love.
Is only for love. Her dad is the head scientist guy, so I guess I'll do this too. She doesn't have free will in a way.
Yeah.
I fully agree. Nolan just can't do it, I guess.
I agree with that too. I mean, and it's not like he doesn't have the capacity for it. He definitely can. And
for sure.
if he needs any help, I'm pretty sure his wife is a screenwriter as well, right?
Yeah, she's more in the business than he was. So
I'm pretty sure she brought him into it. If I remember that, they could honestly work together in creating like a perfect character for like a perfect woman character, and I feel like it would work amazingly. It would work really well. But just himself writing them, it's not the greatest. I agree with you 100,000%. He could definitely use a bit of work on female characters. It's not like it will stop me from watching Christopher Nolan movies, but it definitely puts it into perspective. Like whenever you're watching a Nolan movie, you just sit down and you're like, there's not really many female characters, and there's
think of any of his movies.
Yeah, exactly. Like I mean, Tenet. I don't know.
There's one girl, but she's just like the wife of this rich guy.
Yeah.
It's basically it at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Like I'm thinking Memento too. I'm thinking like so many movies. There's not many really well written female characters.
No. There's barely any female characters.
There's barely any. Yeah, that's true.
Dark Knight Rises, I guess Catwoman's in there, but barely, and has
even
such a small impact.
You still follow the same rules, right? She's just ultimately a love interest at the end of the day.
She's there to flirt.
Yeah.
That's it.
Although it's Anne Hathaway in both movies. Okay, so same character arc. You see this her character really cool, really defines she's really super smart. She's going on this super explorational out and basically risking her life to try to find a better world and all that, and then all to learn is just because she just wants to go meet up with this one scientist who she had a thing for. It's really, and then same thing for Batman. She's helping the city, saving the city at the end of the movie, and and then it's like, oh, I mean, they're at a cafe at the end of it, and Bruce is fine, so it's like, okay, like it almost feels like Nolan is good for it, and he has the capacity to do it, but then like almost like shies away at it, and he's just like, nah, and then at the last second, I don't know.
Yep. No, it's fully correct.
Yep.
Yeah.
See, I just want to point out before we end this episode, these are the types of conversations that are, that should be, we should be having. And I'm, this shows the group and that we have here, that you guys listen to week in and week out. The fact that we're able to just have this absolute love for Nolan and his ability to do unbelievable things with music, with film, and just push boundaries in the film industry, yet we're still able to have a really real perception of an unbiased perception of what his flaws are. So yes, thank you guys.
No one's perfect. He's my GOAT, but like, yeah, of course. Yeah, I fully agree.
Absolutely. All right, so we'll leave it there. It was a fantastic episode. A lot had been said, and I'm sure we skipped out on a bunch of stuff.
So much. We could easily do a part 2 of another hour and a half.
100%. Maybe we will one day.
Probably will.
We'll return to it and give our updated opinions. Who knows? By the time we return to it, maybe Nolan will have something else out, or hopefully Tarantino will have his next film out by then.
Yeah.
But who's to say? So as always, make sure you guys leave a like on the video if you're watching on YouTube. Subscribe if you're new. We'd greatly appreciate it. And you can always check out our other socials as well. We got an Instagram, Forgotten Popcorn. We have TikTok. We've got ourselves our lovely Spotify, where if you want to listen on the go, please do. That would be greatly appreciated. And as always, I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to pick up the popcorn on your way out. And
Thank you.
Thank you.
Alvaro won a quiz.